Hello everybody and welcome for another series of videos for Hyperspace. Today we're going to learn how to play Hyperspace. Well, resources. What resources can we actually have within this game? We're going to first take a look at some of the components. First, we have metal, we have atomics, and we have organics. Organics is a resource which is a wild card which can be used either as atomic or as metal throughout the game. This is an important resource that is a wild card and can be used as any of the two. Each civilization sheet will have some common information that you will require throughout the game. The first thing is the amount of atomics that you can produce throughout the game, as well as the metal production, so you can keep track on what you are producing. You have two spaces for common technologies, which we will see later on, and as well for two super technologies, which are two for each of the factions that you're going to be able to research throughout the game. You have your units, which will be able to tell you the cost of the unit. If they have a cost to be built, either it's going to stay an M for metal, A for atomic, or O in some rare cases for organics. That may be required as a cost to build a certain unit. On the middle one, you will have the attack. That means the amount of damage that the unit can perform throughout battle, or how many dices it will require to attack within the battles. As well, at the end, it will have how many defense points it requires to be removed on the battle to be destroyed. As you can see, some units have a shield printed on them, which will mean they are fortresses. When a unit is a fortress, it cannot be removed from the table unless it is destroyed. The units that are not fortresses, that does not receive the entire damage, will be damaged. In that case, it will go to the storage of your civilization, so you can later on place them back on the board without paying the cost, but only paying a certain action. We will see later on. As well, you will have a bonus that will help you throughout the battle, a victory rule that will help you to advance faster and earn some victory points, or help you throughout the game, as well a weakness. For this example, the fungi cannot use the atomics or the metal unless it has used his organics from the civilization sheet. So you cannot spend this until you have expended all of your organics. That's a weakness that fungi has, for example. For the planets, all planets are separated within continents. As you will see on each of the tiles, most of the planets will have lines that run across each of the planet. That means, for example, of Chala 1, it has 3 lines that separate the planet into 3 continents, while C Pegasi, it divides the line into 2 different continents. As well, you will see some planets will have things in orbits, like hypertogons, we will talk later on, or wrecked ships that you can salvage and repair to use later on the battle. As well, some planets will have certain icons. Just as a reminder, this icon will be changed from the final version because this represents organics that are laid down on the planet, which later on can be salvaged or can be harvested later on if you have a colony in that planet. As you as well will be able to see, there are some planets that don't have any lines, which will mean, like Tau Buddhis, that is a one continent planet. The game setup. First, check how many players are going to play with you. That means that it can be set up for 2, 3, 4 players, and later on you will be able to have an expansion pack which will allow you to play for up to 6 players. For 2 and 3 players, there is a special rule in which one continent planet has to be removed and will not be used in this game. However, we're going to use the 4-player setup so you can see how to set up the game. Now just follow the same pattern that is printed in the rulebook. The first thing we're gonna do is to shuffle all the planet tiles and place them as stated in the rulebook. Once it is set up, each player will sit and put his own units in each of the places specified in the game setup. As example of the Vanguard, we already set up the other 3 players. After you set up the planet, take your civilization sheet and place it near you. Take your common units, which would be your colonies, your star bases, and your ships, and put them in the side of the pole on the left side of your civilization unit. Take your citizens and place it as well in your pool. And take your super units and place it in your pool. Grab the action token, which will be to help you to keep track of the actions you have been taken, as well as the Bengi, any special markers that you will require. In the case of the Bengi, we will need the Grudge track and the friend tokens. Take 2 technologies that belongs to that civilization and place it as well in your pool or near your civilization sheet. Grab your common technology deck, shuffle them up, and deal 4 common technologies to each player. Grab your player markers and place it on the victory track. 1 for battle, 1 for research, 1 for probing, and 1 for victory points. And place the sheet near all the players. Take all your resources pools for your metal, atomic, organics, and hypers and place them near at the reach of all the players. Grab your secret cards, shuffle them up, and place it at the reach of all the players. Some planets, as you can see at the skid, they have some organics already on the planet. Place the markers represented on each of the planet as may require. Now each player will see how many continents each planet has and will put 1 colony on each of the continents and place the resources printed on that continent on the required colony. In this case, we'll put the 2 colonies for the Bengi, which will have 2 atomics in 1 colony, an atomic and a metal for the other one. Place 1 of your citizens in 1 of the 2 continents that shows a colony with them, as well a starbase in orbit, and place the starting fleet. In this case, the Bengi starts with a destroyer. This is how the map is being set up. Now each player will start with 2 metal, which will be stated in the storage area, 2 atomics, and 2 organics. Now we are ready to play. However, decide who's going to be the first player. This is going to happen the following thing. The first player will earn 1 hyper token, while the second player 2, the third player 3, and so on. Once you do that, place your production markers and set them as required. For example, the fungi has 3 atomic and 1 metal. The Bangay, I'm sorry, which will mean the colonies that it has in its home planet has 3 atomic tokens and 1 metal token, which means that is the production that he can do within his turn. Now we're ready to play. The game is played through a series of actions that each player can perform throughout his turn. Each player can do up to 3 key actions and any amount of extra actions. Let's talk about the key actions. The first one we're going to talk about is the move action. So the move action, at the beginning of the game, you don't have any explore systems, which we'll talk about in just a moment. However, when you move to any unexplored system, you will require to pay 2 atomics out of your storage to be able to move to any unexplored adjacent system. Remember, you can use organics because organics is a wild card and can be used either as an atomic or as metal. Then choose any amount of ships that you have in your system and move it to an adjacent one. In this case, we will move to here, just flip the tile and show it up. When you do this, you will explore a new system. You will advance on the victory point tracks on the pro track and earn the reward stated. In this case, you will earn 1 hyper token and place any organics if they are printed on the planet or anything that is in orbit for salvage later on. If you want to move from a system to another system that is already explored, which just means that the planet is already showing, and you want to move to that system or even an enemy system that is already open, you only need to pay 1 atomic. So you can move through different systems as long as they are shown by paying 1 atomic for a key action. There is another action as well for moving, but this one will be an extra action. In that case, it will mean when you move into a system that belongs to one of your systems marked by a star base, you only have to pay 1 atomic and move any of your ships from one system to one of your systems. But that will be an extra action, will not be a key action. That's an important, so they will give you as many planets that you have. It will give you more free movement at the expense of only the resource payment. Then we're going to talk about the research action. For the research, you will need to choose each one of the spots and pay the required cost. For in this case, I can pay 1 atomic or 2 atomics for a regular technology, or 1 atomic or 2 atomics for one of my technologies, which in that case I can pay 1 atomic, give it back to the pool. Someone, then you have to choose another player to earn an organic throughout that same action. Then took any of your 4 technologies, the one that you want to research, and place it accordingly of what you have paid. In this case, some technologies are going to give you, as this one is printed, are going to give you a hyper token when you research. There are technologies that are 1 use, which that will be required as an extra action, and they will flip later on. We're going to talk about later. When you do that, you will advance in the research track and earn, in this case, 1 victory point. You earn the reward as stated in the track. You cannot research regular technologies into super spaces. Once you have done a research of a regular technology, you will grab a brand new technology from the pool and place it. So you will always have 4 technologies unless stated otherwise. Battle. To fight, you will need to be in the same system as another player that has units on it. So in that case, you only need to pay 1 atomic to battle against another player. In this case, we will choose Sierra Leone's, in which we have 2 blue destroyers that wants to threaten us. So within our phase, I pay 1 atomic, and now both players will roll dice equal to all the units that are able to attack. This phase happens at the same time. In the case of the fungi, you will be able to have 1 destroyer, which is 1d8, 2 corvettes, which is 1d6 each of the ships, another d6 for the starbase, and roll them all together and add the results up. So in this case, it has 13 points of damage. Then the opponent player, it will roll its attack dice as well. In this case, the blue player has 2 destroyers, which is 2 dice of 8, rolling a 5. That's what it calls the battle. Then now we will assign damage, and this is done at the same time. You could choose whoever to assign damage first. You need to assign damage to 1 unit until it is destroyed before moving to the next one. In the case of the Bengi, he has rolled a 13. So the destroyer takes 8 points of damage and it is destroyed, while the other one doesn't have enough to be destroyed, so it is damaged, and it goes to the storage for the Skith player. The Skith hath rolled a 5, in which has several units in which can destroy or damage. Each corvette has only 2 points of defense, so he can destroy 2 destroyers, 2 corvettes, and they are destroyed. However, the last point of damage cannot be assigned to the starbase or to the colony because they are fortresses. They cannot be damaged. They will always remain on the table. But 1 point of damage will be enough to damage the Bengi destroyer and send it to the Bengi storage. When you fight and you are the attacker and you destroy at least 1 unit, you will advance on the battle track, and of course at the same of the other 2 tracks, you will earn the reward as stated on the track. The build action. When you build, you have certain rules and specifications for building. Most of the unit cost metal to be a build. Certain exceptions, and some units will require organics or atomics, which will be specified on each of the civilization sheets. To build, just choose the following as stated. To build a colony, you can build the colony in any planet, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it has an open continent set. So you can even build into another player's planet as long as there is an opening in that planet's surface. And that will cost 1 metal. When you do that, check what is printed on the continent and set the corresponding resource and increase your resource track as required. To build a starbase, which is another key action, remember that building a colony is 1 key action, building a starbase is 1 key action. In this case, by the cost again of 1 metal, I can build a starbase. There are some restrictions. I cannot build where I already have a starbase. And I cannot build a starbase just anywhere. I need to have at least a colony in that planet's surface in order to build a starbase. To build a citizen, it is similar to the colony. It has to be on the planet's surface. However, in this case, it doesn't cost me any resource, but it costs me 1 action. In that case, I can place it on any planet surface where I have already a colony in place. So in this case, I can even put it on the Bengi's home in any of the two. It doesn't matter if there's already another citizen. I can have as many citizens as I want or as I have, or I can place it in another continent where I have a colony. To build ships, it is important that you need to be able to place them on the board. You need to have a starbase to place them on that tile. When you build ships, you can build for up to the cost of 4 metal in ships, as long as you have the resources to pay. Each corvette only costs 1 metal, so in that case you can even build 4 corvettes. The destroyers has a cost of 2 metal, so you can build for or to 2 destroyers or 1 destroyer and 2 corvettes. Then you have your cruisers, which costs 3 metal, which in that case you can build a cruiser and up to a corvette as well. When you build a super unit, normally this costs 4 metal, so you can only build the ship and place it. You can even rebuild stuff that you have in storage. If you're not going to repair them, you can build them from scratch. You're still allowed to do so. So let's say we're going to pay 4 metal to build up to that cost in ships. In that case, as I have my 1 destroyer at storage, I don't want to repair it or rebuild it, and I have already 1 in play. So I'm going to place 1 cruiser and 1 corvette in any planet in which I have a starbase. It can be even separate if you want, all together, doesn't matter. And that's the build action. Then you have the production action. When you want to produce, there will be a moment in which you will not have resources. In that case, or you don't have enough resources, in the worst case scenario. In that case, you will want to produce. The production action works as the following. You will choose which of the 2 resources you want to produce. You cannot produce both at the same time. You need to choose between atomics or metal. Once you have chose that, in that case, we'll say I chose atomics. In this case, my production is at 3. I take 3 atomics, place it in my storage, and then I will see how many citizens do I have. In this case, I have 2 Bengis, in which each citizen throughout the production action will give me each 1 organic. And that is my production action. Simple as that. However, you're not limited to only produce once. You can even spend your 3 actions producing to have enough resources. It will be something not that properly well done, but each player may decide if you want to produce more than once or not. Finally, you have the salvage action. The salvage action works as the following. When you do a salvage action, there are several things that will happen. First off, let me move this and let me move this here to do a better explanation for the salvage. And let's place another system here and another colony here. So I just want to make a better explanation. Okay? When you do the salvage action, there are several things that will happen. The first thing is that you can take all your damaged units that are on your storage and place it on the map in any of the places where you have a starbase. So if you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 ships damaged in your storage, you can place them back without paying a cost, of course. The second thing, if there are things in orbit like wrecked ships or hypers and you have a starbase there, you will take and discard the token and place the corresponding, in this case, is a destroyer unit, and I place it there. If I don't have units, I cannot do the salvage and the token will remain in orbit. I will grab hypers if there's any hypers and take them to my storage. As well, if there's any organic in one of the continents in which I have a colony, I will take all of them and place them in my storage. And that is the salvage action. And finally, we have the self-destruct. Yes, you hear me right. You can self-destruct your own stuff. When you actually request to self-destruct, you can destruct the following things. You can destroy any of your units that are in play. You can as well self-destruct a technology that you have. That will be the only way to free the space that you have. So in this case that you have a one-use technology, and once you have used it, you cannot use the spot again unless you self-destruct the technology. Now the space is open, so you can research back again. You cannot self-destruct super technologies, only regular technologies. You can as well self-destruct technologies in your hand to change them for the new ones on the pool. If you have one that is duplicate from the one you already have researched, that will be an extra action instead of a key action. And those are the actions for hyperspace. The extra actions, as we already talked, moving to a system that already belongs to you, even though you still have the cost for an atomic, it will be an extra action and it will not count to your extra actions. Any one-use technology, it will be an extra action to activate it at any moment on your turn. As well as an extra actions, you will be able to collect different amount of hyper tokens, in which we already talked throughout this video, and let's see how they work. You can on your turn buy with one hyper token either one metal or one atomic. It is similar to the organic, but in this case you're going to use it as a coin to buy that resource in a one-on-one exchange. You cannot buy organics. You can use a hyper token and place it in one of your colony slots, in which that will help it and increase the defense in 6. So a colony, instead of having defense 6, it would have 12, and it will safeguard them from some of the destruction systems or abilities that are throughout the game. You can, as well as an extra action, exchange 3 hyper tokens for 1 victory point. As well, you can exchange 5 hyper tokens for 1 secret card. And that's how you use the hyper tokens. Now let's see about the secret card. Whenever you gain a secret card via a special ability, bind with hypers, or given by the victory point tags, you grab the first card in the secret pile and read it out loud. In this case, we have Grey Goo. It says that choose a rival and destroy for up to 3 metal worth of rival ships. That means that I can choose any of the players that have at least 3 ships cost of metal and destroy them. Then you keep the secret on your storage, because each one of them will be able to help you at the end of the game. The secrets are separated into giving you 1 victory point, 2 victory points, or a hyper token at the end of the game.
The end of game. When do we reach the end of the game? Well, the game will end when the first player reach 15 victory points on the track. It will trigger the end of the game. So then automatically we will stop the game and we'll do the following. We will add the hypers that we earn, that we're going to earn actually through the secret cards that we have. And then we exchange all the hypers that we have for victory points. So remember, it's a 3-to-1 ratio, and then we will add the victory points that is added to us by the secret cards. And lastly, we're going to check on the table. Let's take again Bengi as an example. We're going to check on which planets do we have at least one colony on our planets, or more, of course, but you need to have at least one. Doesn't matter if you're sharing the world with another player. We're going to count them down. So in this case, we're going to take Bengi. We're going to have and see we have 4 planets with colonies, so we add 4 victory points. And then we're going to check on which planet systems do we have star bases. Remember, there are some special rules that would allow certain civilizations or certain conditions, and will most probably could end up a planet with 2 star bases. It will not count separately. Okay, so it means that a system with star bases will score 1 more victory point as well. So in the case of Vengi, it has 4 systems with star bases, so it's 4 more victory points, adding up to 8 victory points to the final score. So in that case, you will add it, and then the player with the most victory points is the winner. Okay, that is pretty much how you add points at the end of the game, and how the game triggers for ending and scoring final BPs.
And that's, my friends, all the action that you can take and how to play Hyperspace. Keep in tone, I know it's a lot of info to take. Next time we're going to give you a playthrough so you can see a game at full scale and how it is being played. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.